You know that feeling, right? Your home is your castle, your personal space. But what happens when someone you invited in just won't leave? Or when a friendly visit turns sour? Where does the law draw that line between a guest and a criminal? Well, today, we're going to get right into it, breaking down the legal ideas of trespass and mischief to pinpoint that exact moment.
All right, let's just jump right in with a scenario. Picture this. You're having a party, it's getting late, and you ask someone to head out, but they just plant their feet and refuse to go. Is that just incredibly rude, or have they actually broken the law? This very question leads us straight to our first big legal idea.
And here it is, criminal trespass. Now, the first thing you've got to notice is that it's not just about being on someone's property. The law looks deeper than that. It's all about why you're there. It's about your intent.
So what's the secret sauce that turns your presence into a crime? It's all about what's going on in your head. Lawyers have this great term for it, mens rea, the guilty mind. For it to be criminal trespass, the prosecution has to prove your intention was one of these four things: to commit another crime, to intimidate someone, to insult them, or simply to annoy them.
Okay, but what about our party guest? They were invited. This is where it gets really interesting, because the law doesn't just say, oh, you were invited, so you're fine. Nope. It actually makes a really clever distinction based on when that bad intention pops into your head. And you can see that split right here. Think of it like this. There are two kinds of trespassers. The first type walks through your front door with a plan already brewing in their mind. The second type, they show up as a perfectly welcome guest, but then, while they're there, something clicks, and that's when they decide to do something wrong. The timing of that decision is absolutely everything.
Let's use an example to make this crystal clear. Say you get an invite to some incredibly fancy wedding. You're on the guest list. Your entry is totally legit. But if your secret mission all along was to slip a silver vase into your bag, well, your lawful entry is kind of poisoned from the start by that criminal intent. Legally speaking, you're trespassing the second you walk in.
Now for the flip side. This one is from a real case. A school's vice chairman walks onto campus. He has every right to be there. It's his job. He arrives with zero bad intentions. But then he finds out his nephew got into a fight, and he decides to go assault the other kids. His intent to commit a crime was formed after he was already lawfully there. That's what turns his continued presence into criminal trespass.
Okay, let's try another one, a scenario to test a really important legal idea. Your dog bolts right into your neighbor's perfectly manicured yard. You know for a fact your neighbor is going to be super annoyed if you step on their grass, but you do it anyway to get your dog. So, have you just committed criminal trespass?
And the answer is no. This highlights a huge difference in the law between knowledge and intent. Your goal, your primary mission, was to get your dog back. You knew your neighbor might be annoyed, sure, but that was just a side effect. For it to be a crime, your main purpose would have had to be to cause the annoyance. See the difference?
All right, so we've got a handle on simple trespass. But what happens when we level up? When a trespass involves someone's home, their sanctuary, and a specific method is used to get in, the crime gets a much scarier name: housebreaking.
So what does it take to go from simple trespass to the much more serious charge of housebreaking? Well, the law is super specific about this. It all comes down to just six particular ways of getting into or out of a place. And here they are. It's everything from sheer brute force, like knocking down a wall, to something stealthy, like picking a lock. It also includes using a way in that's not meant for people, like climbing through a window, or even just using force against a person to get past him. The bottom line is, if you use any one of these 6 methods to get in or out, it's an automatic upgrade from trespassing to housebreaking. Okay, so trespass is all about being where you shouldn't be. But what if someone damages your stuff without ever setting foot on your property? Like, what if they stand on the street and throw a rock through your window? Well, that brings us to our next big concept: criminal mischief.
Basically, this is the legal term for vandalism. And the two key things to look for here are the intent to cause what the law calls wrongful loss or damage, and doing it by either destroying something or just changing it enough that its value or usefulness is gone.
So mischief can be super obvious, right? Setting a car on fire, total destruction. But it can also be much more clever. Imagine a company has a huge valuable block of ice for a sculpture competition. If you melt it, you haven't destroyed the water, but you've destroyed its value. Same thing with throwing someone's ring into a deep river. The ring's not broken, but its situation has changed so much that it's a complete loss to the owner. And now for a real head-scratcher,
a twist you probably did not see coming. You can actually be found guilty of committing criminal mischief on property that belongs to you.
How in the world does that work? Well, it's all about causing a wrongful loss to somebody else. So if you smash up your own car on purpose just to get the insurance money, you're causing a wrongful loss to the insurance company. Or say you co-own a valuable racehorse with someone and you harm the horse. You've just caused a huge financial loss to your partner. The crime isn't against the property. It's against the other person's wallet.
So as we've seen with all of this, the guest who won't leave, the break-in, the vandalism, there's one thing that ties it all together: intent, your state of mind. The law is always asking, what were you trying to do? What was your goal? That's what separates a simple mistake from a serious crime.
And that leaves us with one last little puzzle to think about, a classic legal brain teaser. A thief is standing outside your house. They use one of those long grabber poles to reach through your open window and snag a shirt. No part of their body ever crosses into your home. The question is, did they commit house trespass? It's a tricky one that really makes you think about what the word entry actually means. And it just goes to show you how detailed these laws can get.